Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
Hey!
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look back at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Now, Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, but we're taking a deep dive into all of these 80s and 90s cult action movies, and we're breaking them all the way down.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back, mate.
G'day!
G'day, mate.
I'm going to keep saying it.
Go for it. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good.
So thrilled to have a founding member of the podcast back with his original gangsta.
Feels to be good.
You threw a boomerang and it came right back.
Mike is so drunk.
Reginald Phil Johnson this.
Oh my god. So
I'm telling you, I might have to bring my kids and just have them sit on my
yeah,
lap.
man. Let them get used to this.
Yeah.
Get them put a little sippy top on top of that beer.
The more the merrier.
As many beers that have been sitting around my house, I'm sure they've already tasted beer.
So we're here to talk more about Crocodile Dundee. This is episode 3.
Welcome back.
Bring us up to speed on the plot. This is like a beautifully simple plot.
Yeah.
We got big city reporter Sue. She's from New York in Australia to do some stories. She's tracking down Crocodile Dundee, this like legendary bushman. He had a near-death experience out in the wild, attacked by a crocodile.
What?
Crawled out of whatever life, the jaws of death.
Yeah.
Literally.
The swamp.
Yeah, so she's tracked him down. She wants to get his story to report to her newspaper. So she's paid him to sort of recount the story as they're hiking through the wilderness. So that's where they're at. They've sort of found some common ground. They're bonding a little bit. He saved her life from a giant crocodile.
Right.
There's something magical about Crocodile Dundee.
We can't quite put our finger on it.
Yeah, he's got the touch. He's got the glow.
Got the
from
touch.
The Last Dragon.
He's he's connected with the local tribes.
Yeah, he grew up amongst the Aboriginal people.
So he's got their respect.
He's just an all-around good dude. A little sexist, little like rough around the corners.
But in a very charming way.
He's learning,
like your drunk uncle.
He's learning, and he's learning from her as well, I think.
Yeah.
So that basically gets us up to
more
speed.
or less. So yeah, we pick up the next morning, the day after she was almost killed by the crocodile. Mick is walking Sue through the woods, explaining that it took him a week to get this far, and he thought he was a goner. She asks if he was afraid, and he's like, "Of dying? No." That he read the Bible once, and Jesus and the disciples were fishermen, so he figures that he'd go straight to heaven when he died. Yep, me and God, we be mates. I like that. That whole sentiment is awesome.
He's like oozing wisdom, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I love that. Oh yeah, I read the Bible once. Like I gleaned what I needed from it, and that's I wonder how much of this stuff like coming out of Dundee's mouth is Paul Hogan's own personal philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
So I was actually thinking about this earlier today, and you just bear with me on this one right here. But I kind of compared Mick Dundee to Jesus, right? So Jesus was probably a real person, right?
Yeah.
But the way people talked about him, they built him up into like this.
They built a legend.
Like they built a legend. This
Sure.
is who Mick Dundee is. Like everybody's building Mick into this legend.
People forget that Jesus shat like everyone else.
Or you think about Braveheart, fucking William Wallace, where he's like, oh, he's not 12 feet tall, all
exactly.
the legends that we heard
Lightning
about him.
comes from his arse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lightning, I'll kill him with lightning
Except
bolts.
for
from my ass.
Braveheart didn't want that kind of recognition, and I think Mick Dundee does,
I don't know. He didn't seek fame out. She found him, right? Like he was not doing interviews and stuff after.
I think to be fair, Wally probably sought her out.
Wally helped her find him.
He answered that phone call for sure.
Yeah.
So sometime later in the day, they arrive at a beautiful lake.
That location was nuts.
The place is unreal. He calls it Echo Lake. It is played by the Gunlum Waterfall Creek in Kakadu National Park in the Northern Territory.
That's awesome.
And so Mick explains that he reckons that this place, this pool of water, saved his life, that it's mineral water, so there are no crocs, but there's plenty of food.
Plenty of tucker.
Yeah, plenty of tucker. I love the gentle dropping of Australian slang throughout the movie, tucker. So she says, good, because I'm hungry as shit. So cut to, he's got what is called a goanna lizard roasting on a spit. She does not look excited about eating it. He says, it's great. Encourages her to try the Hakuna Matata Lion King style smorgasbord he's prepared with like
yams,
bugs and ants and... Yeah, he's like, just bite the end off. They're really sweet. Black fellas love them. Okay.
And I heard that. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But
I thought he was talking about the actual yam when he said that, but he's actually talking about people, right?
Well, no, but black fellas is... That's Aboriginal people slang.
Yeah.
That's what Aboriginal people refer to black
Each
people
other.
as black fellas.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
white people are white fellas.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, okay. But it does come off as like a,
yeah, there's a lot
cringy.
of moments in this movie, right?
Dude, I've never eaten reptile. Have either of y'all etten reptile before? Snake or
I've eaten
alligator?
and I've eaten frog.
Yeah.
An amphibian, I know, but
What's the gator like?
Tastes like chicken.
I think that the gator was probably seasoned because it tasted a little bit like sausage meat.
But it wasn't in a link. It was like
it was just like on a spit
okay.
that had been like put over a fire.
Huh.
I wonder if you can get that at Buford.
I guarantee you.
Probably.
Gator, maybe not frog legs, but
I bet frog legs you can find at Buford Highway somewhere.
Yeah, well, I mean,
The cow farmers market might have some of that stuff
You
too.
will not be surprised to know that frog legs taste just like chicken. They're delicious. They taste just like chicken.
Just not a lot of meat on them though. Huh?
Yeah, they're small. It's like eating quail's legs, but just slightly bigger.
So out of curiosity,
Yeah, man.
How did you? this go out?
Once upon a time, my Uncle Danny took my brother and I frog gigging.
Gotcha.
And that is where you load up in a canoe in the middle of the black night, in the darkness, no moon. You want to go out with no light whatsoever. And you get in a canoe, and ideally there's more than one person in the boat. One to anchor the boat with the paddle, one to shine the light in a frog's eyes, and then the third person to sit at the front of the boat and throw the spear and kill the frog. And then, so the light mesmerizes
And you
them.
were 9.
I was like 11 or 12. So that's the thing, is
like
you
you're in that
shine,
shit.
the light in their eyes, the frog's sort of blinded and mesmerized, and then you spear them. And then my uncle took the frog by its back legs and beat it over the side of the boat to kill it. And then we took it home. He skinned it. You pour salt on it.
Yeah. That's where you said the legs were twitching.
And the legs kicked because all the nerve endings were
That's not for me.
were
I mean,
stimulated.
I might eat the frog legs, but I don't need to know how they were made.
That's a lot of trouble.
It is
a lot of trouble for like a bite of meat.
You got to be hungry, right?
A lot of trouble for and I wondered, I was like, why frog it can't be that good that
No.
we're out here, and it was 2:00 in the morning,
Yeah.
and we were like 11 and 12 years old.
Tradition, I
And
guess.
your parents were like, "Yeah, go
We're
ahead."
like, good night, see you tomorrow. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, there you go.
That's
Frog legs.
funny.
Enjoy.
I think Mick Dundee would appreciate that story.
Mick Dundee, he has definitely frog gigged in his
Oh
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
So, yeah, Dundee encourages her to eat everything, bite the ends off. They're really sweet. So she tries the food. She seems underwhelmed. She's like, are you going to eat it? And he's like, me? Oh, well, you can live off of it, but it tastes like shit.
He produced the can of I don't know what.
Yeah, I
Like
hope it was
peaches or something like that.
like
the Dinky Doo or whatever from
oh,
Mad
the
Max.
dog food.
That would've been
The
awesome.
Dinky Day.
Yeah, Dinky Die. That's what it was.
Sue thought that was hilarious. though. I
Yeah,
love
she's
that.
like the playful pats on his shoulder. So later, after an overhead shot swim and some spearfishing of what we hope was a fake fish,
I gotta learn to spearfish, man. Because as he was doing that, like, she was watching with the thirst.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and she looked perfect.
She was like, I am
also.
being provided for in the wilderness. So they're talking on the lakeshore. Yeah, she was definitely objectifying him. She's like, she all of a sudden is like, you should come back with me to New York because it'd be great for the story, having you in the city. And then Mick's like, well, I thought you were trying to make a pass at me. And she's
smooth.
And she's like, I might have been. And then she's like, would you mind if I was? Damn. And they kiss.
Yeah.
Here on the shores of Echo Lake in the Northern Territory.
He went with the face grip technique. He grabbed her by the face and kissed her.
It was interesting.
We've seen it in other movies.
He's a manly man.
I guess.
That's
I don't
a manly
know.
man's kiss.
I
never
wonder if
seen
it's
that in life.
Is it like an actor's choice, or is that how Paul Hogan would kiss a young woman of 20?
Grab you by
a
the
woman
face.
20 years his
28
junior.
year. No, yeah, 20. I don't know. Anyway.
Let me kiss you like a father. So anyway, so they kiss, but before anything could happen, we hear whoo-wee! And it's like a hoot of some kind, and then Mick says, that must be Walt. He's only been here a dozen times, so he's probably lost.
And when I was a younger viewer, for whatever reason, I don't know why, because it's very clearly explained.
Right.
I always thought that was either Walt or Neville, sort of giving that, woo! I'm watching you, and, I see that kiss.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought
so
that.
that was Walt letting them know that he was around.
I think he was I'm here, or I'm lost.
Yeah.
Come find me.
I think that it was based on the dialogue that we get in a second was Walt saying, I'm here and I've seen you.
Oh, so you think he was looking?
I think he'd seen them and was just letting them know he's here so that things didn't get weird.
Well, what do you think would have happened if Walt hadn't arrived? Was it going to go further than the kiss?
I don't
was
think
it
so.
on?
I think that they probably would have made out. And we'll talk more about this as we discuss the movie.
So
but
I can see, you're right, I see Mick not thinking it proper to have sex with her on the first go. As bushman-y as he is, I would see then he would think that was not proper.
I think a gentleman.
I think that he understands this whole thing has set her up. It's like a fantasy for her. He's built it up on purpose, and that she's in that moment. I think he's in the moment too, but I don't think he wants to take advantage.
Sure. So you don't think he kisses every
I don't think
tour that he has out there?
I don't think he does. I honestly don't.
Okay.
So later on, as they're loading up the truck, Wally seems to sense that there's something in the air.
Smells like sex out here.
And/or he saw it. He's like, I smell the wetness. I don't. So he not so subtly asks Mick, complete with fucking hand motions. Did you make it with Sue?
So the way he says that, or the way he comes off, he's not surprised, right? He's like, hey, so did you hit that?
Yeah.
Did this happen before? Like you were saying,
I think he could sense the energy between them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if maybe it had been a while since Mick had chemistry with a woman. Because again, there can't be that many tourist groups that are coming out here because they're struggling for cash.
Sure. Ida the barkeep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hot.
And that other hot bartender.
And then hot
but he
barkeep
says
number
it so
two.
quickly
bartender.
that he almost expected for those two to hook up on their trip.
Maybe.
And he may have just because they're one young and one middle-aged handsome couple.
Yeah, but he doesn't come off as an old dude though.
He's got that young energy.
Yeah, when you said he was that age, I was surprised.
How old do you think Crocodile Dundee is supposed to be?
40.
Really? I would have thought. Well, yeah,
younger than 40.
I would have thought Han's 35, maybe.
Okay.
Like
I think
Han Solo
40
age.
and she's 30. That's how I read it, which is,
that's close.
I'm trying to make that work in my life.
No.
I was struck by the fact that Walt is wearing the same shit. Just that dirty ass safari suit. I just wondered, does he have a bunch of those? Or is it just I wear the same shit every day?
I think that he probably washes the undershirt and then puts everything on over it.
Like Swearingen from...
I think Sean Mellon was available for 2 days worth of shooting.
Oh! Well, maybe. Yeah,
That's also
just
true.
even the same outfit.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of screen time if you get down
really
to it.
Yeah.
As memorable as he is.
So after Walt suggests that Dundee may have had sex with Sue, Dundee's like, nah, plays dumb. He's a gentleman about it.
Walt had a case of the giggles. He's
he did. Yeah, Sue tells Walt that she wants Mick to come back to New York. Walt's skeptical, but quickly changes his mind when she says that the paper is going to pay for it. He's like, Well, a man should broaden his horizons.
But what was he thinking? It was not like the paper's going to pay for Mick to stay in New York. The paper's not going to
Airfare. I think airfare and hotel.
But how does that benefit?
I think it goes through the business.
Maybe they do pay for his time.
I think that it goes through the
like
business.
I'll pay another
how does that-
$2,500 for a week
It
or
goes
whatever.
through Never Safari Tours.
Sure.
Okay.
So, so
I think
like
they book
business,
his time. They book his time for a week, and instead of having him take him in the wilderness, they'll take him to New York.
Okay. Yeah, I was about
Exactly.
to say, how does that benefit the business with Mick? In fact, I would think that would be bad for business if
He's not around to give
their
tours.
guy
so-
is not around to give tours.
Do you think Walt's ever seen the world?
I
Has he been outside of Australia? Or
Mick said that
He's seen the big
cities.
city.
Yeah,
He's not.
he's been to Sydney, though, do you
Yeah,
think? Or
he
has he
might
been
have
all
been
around
all
London
Australia.
and shit?
I think he's probably been to at least England.
Think about it. He probably fought in the war.
God, he probably did.
He was like seeing North Africa and
Oof.
Italy and
Rough.
shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, cut to a Qantas airliner on the tarmac. A visibly nervous Mick is trying to play it cool as the plane's like getting ready to take off.
Wait, why has Mick agreed to do this? Is it because he liked for Sue?
Well,
does he want to
I
not
think-
He
leave
seems
Sue?
like an adventurous type guy, right? So it's like
I
somebody
think-
gives me an offer to go to New York City, I'm going to take
I
it,
think
right?
Wally said it's good for business, and number two, I think, and we'll talk about this more as we discuss the movie, that kiss really did a number on
Sure,
Mick.
yeah.
I think that the time that he was spending with her, I think that he's like legitimately into her,
If
and
you
then he's
wanna-
like, as much time as I can spend with this woman.
Yeah.
If you want to go way back to even the kangaroo scene where he didn't care at all what the
Yeah.
poachers were doing to the kangaroos, and she kind of
won't-
like changed
yeah.
his mind.
True.
So he took a liking to her as soon as he saw
Yeah.
her. But then the kangaroo
Well, just-
scene,
He likes her vibe.
Think about
right?
the context of the rest of the movie. He puts up with a lot of shit. I'll just say, because of her.
for her.
Yeah,
try
and
to
we'll get more
endear
into
himself
that
to her?
in a moment. We'll get more into it like in due course.
Okay.
So the plane lifts off, and we just hear VO. Jesus Christ! He's like, never been in a plane, which is awesome. So we cut to.
Wait, I don't know if this is accurate, but I read somewhere that you can't get a passport without being able to prove your date of birth.
Made one
That
up.
would make sense.
I guess
But
he
I don't
doesn't-
know if you have a birth.
yeah,
you have
but
to have a birth
that,
certificate
again,
or
that's
something.
probably went to his whole mythology. Like I know
I
what
mean,
you're
I think
saying,
you just
but-
gloss over that.
Again,
Sure.
I would be interested in does that hold true for Aboriginal people that might not have a birthday? Is
yeah,
there a
it's
workaround?
true enough. If you don't have, I was born in a situation where there wasn't a birth certificate.
a way
Right.
to keep record of that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world.
So we cut to the downtown Manhattan skyline. We
Uh-huh.
love it. Focus on the Twin Towers. You're a character in the movie. We love you.
Has there ever been a more clear cut, like midway point to a movie
No.
than
Oh, this is almost like
Well,
two movies for
and
sure.
this is like it's like we get I call it the buddy cop music. Like it's like horn.
It's the New York theme, I guess.
Yeah,
this
it's like,
has got that kind of, you know how all those movies were made in like Toronto, but they look like New York. It's got that feel to it, but they clearly shot it in New York City, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but that music immediately tells me this is the 80s and this is New York.
Yeah.
It's like, so we see Richard, Sue's boyfriend from the cold open. He's at the airport to greet her. She's wearing a headscarf again. He's mesmerized by her beauty. Then they kiss.
Sure.
And wait just a minute here. She was kissing Mick Dundee
Yeah, man.
not 48 hours ago.
That's totally scandalous.
And now she's making out with her boyfriend in the airport.
I think, out of sight, out of mind with Sue.
Yeah, but I mean, would
But she brought him.
would she have kissed Richard if Mick had been standing there with him
Oh.
instead of at the customs?
and she brought him
yes.
back to New York.
Did she
with her.
explain things to him on the plane?
I've got a boyfriend here.
And he was
yeah.
probably
I think
like,
she would probably say my boyfriend's going to meet us at the airport. Probably.
do you think that a person like Mick Dundee would be like, what the
Why didn't
fuck
you
are
tell me that
talking
before I
about?"
got on this
After I
plane?
just flew all the way from
If
Australia.
I had known you had a boyfriend, I never would have got on this flight.
Mick
Yeah,
Dundee
yeah.
would have opened the door and jumped off the plane. The Mick Dundee I know. So anyway,
You don't think you would have taken a free trip to New York, though?
I think he thought he was
Even
going
knowing-
to. He thought he was
think
going to
he-
smash, though.
I think that he would have thought that's annoying.
I would have taken Yeah, well, yeah, I agree with that, but I still think I would take a free trip to New York City.
I think that he kind of got.
I think he senses like some cracks in the foundation, though. He wants to get in there.
Maybe he.
Well, he did
maybe,
kiss her, so there's
Yeah,
definitely something
I bet
there.
you. I bet at some point she did say, "Look, the situation at home's complicated. I've got a boyfriend. I don't know how to break it off with him, maybe or whatever." But then later, anyway, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
That's a false hypothesis. Anyway, Richard notices Dundee's not around. Sue explains that he got slowed down in customs. Richard's immediately disdainful of Mick as we see him like come down and like coming down the escalator.
That he should be too. I mean, I know they
You
paint
were going
him
to say
as,
Richard?
yeah, I know they paint him as the bad guy in this movie.
I mean, if your girl went out of town on a business trip and then was like,
brought
hey,
another dude
I
back.
met this guy in Australia. He's coming back with me.
Yeah.
It's for work.
Fucking what?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
for
fuck
work.
that. Nah.
Fuck all that.
Yeah.
This is for work. This is a fun fact Kevin clued me into. The entire state of Wyoming only has 2 escalators.
Yeah, I don't know how that... Oh, no, a girl taught me that.
Oh,
Told me
thanks,
a lady
girl.
friend. Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's crazy. They said it's not because of law or anything
they're
like
both
that.
in the mall?
I think they're both in an airport somewhere. Or maybe both in a shopping mall somewhere.
It's that flat.
I think there's just no reason to build up because there's no
Right.
shortage of land, you know, to just spread
That's
out.
also true.
I get Dundee being a little leery of an escalator. Like, I think everyone, your first time on an escalator, you're like,
You ever watch a child
Or
come
get
down
to
the
that-
escalator
get to
for
the
the first
bottom of
time?
it, it's like,
holy
so
shit.
it's definitely classic, like fish out of water, but I
Yes,
think they
exactly.
went too far with it.
he's a grown up. He would kill a crocodile, but he's scared of a
Yeah.
escalator.
Wasn't it kind of funny, kind of endearing to see him be like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I think they have to lay it on thick that now he's the fish out of
Yeah,
water,
but I'm surprised
right?
they didn't do he didn't do like a big split where his like foot was like on the top of the escalator and
That
Like
was
Elf,
awesome.
like that.
yeah, like Elf. Yeah,
That was
exactly.
awesome. So outside in a limousine, Gus, the driver, played by Carl Winslow, Reginald Vell Johnson,
Hell yes.
he's telling Mick that New York's home to 7 million people. Mick marvels that 7 million people all want to live together in the same place, and it must be a friendly place.
What a logical thing to think.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
well, then everyone must get along.
There was
It's like
that.
a giant episode of Three's Company where there's always just like a misunderstanding that leads to like comedy.
You would think, yeah, everyone must love the.
I
Be
love
crammed
visiting
in
New
there.
York City. I would never want to live there. Unless I was like
I like a
billionaire.
visit, but yeah, it's like
I
it would be a
often wondered.
lot.
I do love visiting.
lot to live there.
And I've thought that I would like to live there. Not sure. We'll see. One day, maybe. So Gus, Sue, and Richard are all amused by Mick. At a red light, I love this. Like, Mick, like the windows roll down. He like leans out and introduces himself to a stranger. I'm in town a couple of days. Probably see you around.
It's a beautiful moment.
I love that the dude that he's talking to is like, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
Mick
normally in
Dundee
New
from
York, we'd be like,
Australia.
fuck you.
Yeah, it's
Quit
awesome.
talking to me.
Fuck off.
But yeah, the guy like looks back at him as he drives off, like, what? What just
What is
happened?
happening?
It
Yeah.
is crazy. Yeah,
So they pull up to the plaza. A bellhop takes Mick's sack.
he was rocking that same like luggage that Axel Foley had.
Yes, exactly.
It's just like a
All I need
sack
is a
with a
rucksack.
drawstring.
Sure,
on it.
yeah.
A non-regulation rucksack.
So when did Beverly Hills Cop come out?
84.
84. So
Yeah.
I wonder if they got that out because it literally looks like the same.
And I think it's just the type of unpretentious luggage
Yeah.
that an
Just a
Axel
rucksack?
Foley or it's almost like something you would imagine a soldier carrying back from
John
like,
Rambo.
the front lines or some shit. Oh yeah, Rambo had a
He had a
duffel bag.
He just
rucksack.
put all
Yeah.
those outfits in that one little
Not a
sack.
rucksack, yeah, a duffel bag. Yeah.
I don't know, but it fits Dundee's character, don't you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, definitely.
He does not own a suitcase. That man does not own
Samsonite?
luggage. No, Samsonite. So Mick thanks Gus for the ride, which is awesome, and then asks him what tribe he's from. Initially, Gus is like, "Man, I'm not from a tribe." It almost seems sort of like put off by the question.
Sure, yeah.
And then Mick says, "You're a black fella, aren't you?" And Gus says, "Last time I looked." And then he like Mick checks out the limo. He's like, "No one in our tribe's got a flash car like this, so you must be doing all right." Pretty awesome. And then Carl Winslow is like charmed, flattered.
Sergeant Al Powell.
Yeah, is like.
When did Die Hard
"Oh."
come out?
88?
Okay.
88,
So he hadn't made it
89?
just
Yeah,
yet.
88. I think it was 87, 88. But I think 88. I think you're right.
So this is just around the corner, right?
Yeah, dude. He was like on his way to really break it through.
He was about to go off.
I mean, I love when you like watch old movies, and if you look at the end of the credits and you see like that one person that blows up, you know, and becomes like a big time actor.
Can we just talk about, though, how, like, good Reginald Vell Johnson is, even in the smallest role?
Yes.
He's fucking awesome.
He's so likable.
He gives so much in that face as Mick walks away. Like he cycles through 10 different emotions, states of mindfulness. Like, in one, it's like, God damn, that's impressive.
It reads like he can't tell if he should be offended or not.
Right.
But then I think he realizes it's clear that Dundee didn't mean any
no harm.
Yeah.
That, again, Mick is the drunk uncle. Like, he means no harm, but he says the most offensive things.
You kind of just let him slide.
I do wonder, in Dundee's life, like, is it the case that the only black people he would ever encounter are Aboriginal people?
I think that's likely.
Surely in Australian cities there are just black people.
But he's never been to a city.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, in his orbit, he's never encountered.
I will say that at one time I knew the statistic, but I do not know it now, about the demographic breakdown in Australia, because so many people in Australia are part of the British Empire.
Yeah.
So they would have an influx of Indian people.
Sure. Was there not a lot of, like, West Indies?
And some people from West Indies, but I feel like that's fewer and further between.
It's a long way away.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, I would say had he lived in a big city, he likely would have run into people.
I think that he's only seen Aborigines his whole life.
Yeah.
And he's never seen, like, you know, anybody else.
So he's just like, oh, you're a black person? You must be from a tribe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember when I was in high school and had some friends of mine who had moved from, like, upstate New York to where I lived in North Carolina, and I don't think they had ever seen a black person in person.
Wow.
Upstate New York. So yeah, I think that Mick has never seen.
I have a friend from high school who is black, who lives in South Dakota with her family, and she says, like, she'll go a week, 2 weeks without seeing another black person other than, you know, her own family members. And yeah, that's just got to be odd.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We stay from our home base in Atlanta.
But I also wonder, like, if Gus had said, yeah, I'm from a tribe, and it's, like, given an American tribe name, like,
that would mean nothing
yeah,
to
it would mean
him.
nothing to Mick. Like,
it is a little odd that he would assume that you're from an Aboriginal tribe.
Yeah, it's
or just a tribe, period. Like, we get that he's, like, a backwoods country bumpkin, but he can't be that dumb or that just.
I mean, that
maybe he knows
people are from Australia, which actually he alludes to later in the movie. He says, "Are you sure you're not from this tribe?"
Yeah,
and it's like he can't be, not the same continent. Anyway,
it's a can of worms.
Yeah.
Like I said, that they play up his, like, ignorance a little too much. I think
country bumpkin.
And that was the negative review, like the overall point of all the negative reviews that I read about this movie was that, like, it doubled down on this because this movie, like we said, it hangs its hat on Paul Hogan's charm, but it's like, you know, that fish out of water thing. It's like it's too much. It's like impossible.
Like, you have to be, like, really stupid.
So on the steps of the plaza, Richard suggesting that they being he and Sue, go someplace special for dinner tonight. He's annoyed when Sue says to make it a reservation for 3.
Yes.
So
yes,
you're on Team Richard right now.
You just got back from Australia where you stayed like an extra 2 weeks. I haven't seen you in how long? Like, when he was on the phone at the very beginning of the movie, he had expected her back already.
Right.
And so now she's even 2 weeks later than that. And so the first night she gets back, she wants to go to dinner with her man and another dude.
But also, do people not suffer from jet lag in this reality? Like, why when they say in 2 days' time, we'll reconvene for dinner tonight? I'm going to go home. You rest. We'll rest. But she's like, I want to go to dinner.
And it's Australia, so she's got some fear.
I feel like it's breakfast time or something.
I also want to say, as this movie will unfold as we discuss this movie, I'm not sure that she's not coked up more than half the time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, man.
That's a bold thesis.
Nah, I agree with that, though.
I think that she is steady doing some drugs, some uppers.
Do you think she had it out with her in the bush?
Fuck yeah.
No, I think she was probably like munching on some like medicinal leaf out there.
She did some lines on the plane for damn certain to get up and be like, let's go to dinner. Wow.
So I get her not wanting. I get you bringing him from Australia to here. It'd be kind of shitty to be like, order some room service or something because I'm going to dinner with my boyfriend. But she does need to like go back to the hotel and break Richard off real quick. You know what I mean? And then come back for dinner and then hook Richard up again.
You
later.
don't think that Mick Dundee, if she'd said, we've been traveling for almost 2 days.
Let's have a time apart from each other.
I'm going to sleep. I'm going to go home. We'll see you tomorrow.
Catch you in the morning.
We'll have breakfast.
Yeah, or breakfast
We'll
or
start the day
whatever.
off tomorrow.
Does he have money? Does he know how to obtain food?
So
Everything's
now
on
here's the funny
her.
part. In the second movie, he does.
You got the gold mine.
In this movie, we don't
That's
know
right.
that.
That's also true.
But he's not going to show up with nuggets of gold and be like,
Right.
give me a hamburger.
In this
It's just
movie,
a-
I think that everything is on the
newspapers.
paper.
Charge it to the room.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
So anyway, Richard is annoyed, which Mike agrees with.
Rightfully
And
so.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
kind of agree.
I would
and
be
it also
so
is
pissed.
important that
Just got off the plane.
we got to establish also that he's like insecure.
Yeah.
That's,
You know.
well, he should
But this
be.
is
like,
the first.
That's like you and the girl she told you not to worry about.
Exactly.
This is the first moment that we kind of get the fact that Richard's like a little bit like, oh, okay, but she laughs as she looks back to find Gus showing Mick the Cadillac's engine.
I love that.
Yeah,
he's just
he's
like
like,
curious about shit he hasn't seen before.
Sure.
I
Oh,
guess.
this is a nice car.
But he's seen a car before.
What kind of engine does it have? But I get how he's saying like I've never seen anything like this.
Right.
What's the engine like? He's like, well, let me pop the hood.
Does he look like a car engine type guy?
It's better than
He's a motorhead. Yeah.
It's better than the El Camino while he drives back on the ranch. So anyway, Sue accompanies Mick up to his room. I love that he's smoking a cigarette
Smoking
in the
in
elevator.
a crowded elevator.
Right.
Shitty.
Again, 1980s.
Time capsule, yeah.
Has he ever ridden it in an elevator before, Mick Dundee? Probably not
He
in his life.
I mean, if he's never been on an
He's
escalator,
never seen an escalator,
He's surely
but
never been on
I
an
guess
elevator.
elevators are more common.
So why wasn't there that scene where he's like
he may have been
hesitant to get on the...
in like a regional law building or something that had an elevator.
It would also
like courthouse.
seem like magic that you step into a room and the door closes and the door opens and something else is that different as outside.
And he was smoking a cigarette. I feel like that's
he was
something-
nervous smoking.
Yeah. So bellhop leads the way to a spacious suite. How
Dude.
many of us are staying here? And she's laughing. Just you.
That room was insane.
It's
And
huge.
like Manhattan, like I mean, I don't think it was a
Plaza?
Waldorf. It was a plaza.
Yeah.
Apparently
What are
it's
we
like
talking?
a $900,
Yeah, exactly.
$900 a night room.
all on
They
the,
really
all
want
on the
that
newspaper.
story. She really wants that story, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the bellhop returns with his hand out for a tip. Mick shakes his hand, introduces himself like, I'm so sorry I forgot to do this earlier. Sue steps in, like, nope, sorry, I got it, and hands him money. And he's like, you got to pay for the room in advance.
I love that.
Yeah.
His confusion about the concept of tipping made me wonder if that was like an Australia, like because countries are different.
Europe doesn't
with tipping.
tip. You don't tip in Europe.
So I looked it up. I don't know if things were different in '86, but I read in 2015 a 2015 article that said that tipping is customary in Australia.
Okay.
But only if you think the person's done a above and beyond job. Like if you think someone's done a fair to poor job, you're advised not to tip.
Even your waiter, though.
Yeah, and I think the amount that is customary there is about half of what's customary
Because
in
here,
America.
like if you could do a shit job as
And
a
you're
waiter,
still expected
and you're
to
still gonna
tip.
get a tip.
Opening
Yeah.
the door and put what amounts to a garbage bag full of my belongings on the floor is not going above and
in a
beyond.
$900 a night room, though.
Yeah. If that dude had been like, would you like for me to draw you a bath? Would you like for me to turn the TV on?
would you like a hand job,
Would
sir?
you like for me? Like, give me some options. And I'm like, I've opened the door. Tip me, please. Fuck
I've
you.
never
Get outta here.
seen a person just stick their hand out for a tip.
I have not.
I bet you
either.
they do it in New York a lot.
I've seen some
I bet you they do it
lingering
in New York
glances.
a lot.
Yeah.
But, Mick explores the room some more. Always loved the bit where he tapped the ashes into his hat.
He's looking around for an ashtray and there's
Yeah.
not one. And
I love that.
I love that.
Sue points out that there's TV just in case he gets bored. He says, I saw TV once years ago. Turns it on. I Love Lucy's playing. Yep, that's what I saw.
I love that joke.
It's genius.
What I read that as 20 years ago or whatever it was that he saw a TV I Love Lucy was on.
No, yeah.
And he's like,
It-
oh yeah, that's what TV is. It's I Love Lucy all the
Sure,
time.
yeah.
There is, and I would love, maybe we can do some research for the next podcast or whatever, but there's a movie where someone says, I saw TV at the world, maybe it's Captain America or something. I saw TV once at the World's Fair. I think that they recycled that joke for one of the Captain America movies. And it's like,
yeah?
this is what was on.
It's a joke of convenience because
Yeah.
the fact that he 20 years ago saw I Love Lucy, and then the very first time he cuts on a
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the
He's
exact
like,
same
yeah,
thing.
I've seen this before. Boring. Or black
like
and
it
white.
wasn't like
yeah.
the local
Who
news
cares?
or
So then in the bathroom of the suite, Mick's mystified by the bidet. Sue gives up trying to explain what it's for because he's confused. Downstairs, as she's getting into the limo, Dundee whistles and yells out the window. It's like, it's for washing your backside, right? Which is awesome.
The internet says there are no bidets in the plaza.
In all honesty, I probably wouldn't have known what a bidet.
Well, I don't.
Bidets are awesome.
I've never fucked with a bidet
I've
before.
never used a bidet.
Man, I would tell you, it's like, that's a genius piece of equipment. And I probably
You
feel
got to
like-
dry off after, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't use
toilet
toilet
paper?
paper. You got to use a towel,
But
right?
you're going to use much less toilet paper than you would to, like, wipe after a monster deuce.
I guess so.
I mean, I'm thinking like Taco Tuesdays.
Yeah, it is.
You need the whole bathtub.
It is. I will say it's oddly refreshing.
Oh shit! I have had whatever experiences where you're like, I need a shower afterwards. So it's like a simpler version.
It is. So a bit later on, and this part really, and this is one of the reasons I love New York so much, and this is one of those movies that just like
Captures
it
it?
makes me love, because like I can remember the first time I was in New York City. I was a junior in high school, and it's like you seeing Mick go out of the hotel for his first stroll around Manhattan. I'm like, fuck yeah. That's a great feeling. So of course, Mick being Mick, he's like trying to say hello to literally every person he meets, but is quickly like overwhelmed by the experience. And then, I have done this thing in New York, climbed up on the side of a lamppost mimicking Mick Dundee
Just because you saw it on
because
the
of
movie.
that.
just because I'd seen it in the movie.
So apparently, Hogan said that this was based on his first time as Paul Hogan visiting New York, like just being overwhelmed by it and all.
Yeah.
But that trip is sort of what inspired the kernel of the idea
That's
for the
awesome.
movie.
I love that.
There's great moments like in this where he's like, he sees a guy with a shaved head and he's just like chuckling at it, like the craziness of it all, or whatever.
California.
Or he's got like. He's also just doing it all with that massive knife on his hip.
Yeah.
Another
How do
great
you even
point.
get that through customs, right? If Eddie Murphy can't get his knife through customs,
That's what the holdup was.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I watch like New York street scene movies, I always look at the background because you can always see where they're stopping traffic and they're stopping. You can always. This is seamless. I don't see that shot, which I'm like,
was
how do
crowded
they-
as hell out
It was
there.
crowded.
The
but
only
you can-
thing that I notice is that he's the only person moving against the flow
Sure.
of traffic, and the only other people that are moving in the same direction as him are about 20, 30 feet back. I've noticed that. They were keeping it separate.
Sure, but like in the very like perimeter, like you never, like you don't see like that group of like 20 people like
Right.
gawking at the
good call.
cars
Good
and
call.
stuff like that. I've always wondered how they shot that. It's just the movie geek in me that
No, I love it.
looks at stuff like that. I'm like, how do they do that? Because you see that in every film that's ever filmed in New York City, like that separation of like the real film people and like people who are looking at them film.
Totally.
Yeah, I just
Yep.
nerded out.
No,
on that
I
one,
know,
sorry.
dude. I love it. The same, like the first time I was ever in Rome, walked through Piazza Navona, and they were filming a scene from Angels and Demons. I saw Ron Howard and Tom Hanks, and they had all the crowd barricaded back 400 feet away from everything. They were like, please don't take pictures. Please
Sure.
don't have flash photography, because it's going to fuck up our shit.
Yep.
And just have everyone back. But then they had other people that were extras, like around the building, and so it's like, it's just creating that microcosm of things. But it blows my mind too to think about all the work, especially watching a scene like that where there's so many extras.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like
I don't know how they
all
did
the
that.
coordination that took. It
I almost
blows my
feel
mind.
like in a lot of those scenes, I almost feel like they guerrilla filmed it. like they just sat a camera like way back and
Maybe.
like, Paul, just run across the street.
When those Bismarck's walking around Times Square, like
Sure.
you can't
Yeah.
shut down Times Square.
Yeah.
No way.
Totally.
No way. They were just like, they set up a mini camera somewhere and they would like just walk towards camera because he doesn't really do anything. He just walks.
There's a lot of, in this, and I'll mention it later, I'm sure, but there's a lot of shades of Twins.
Yeah.
When you got Schwarzenegger exploring Los Angeles. And I feel like there had to be people just off camera, like gawking at, hey, look at
Sure.
Schwarzenegger.
Look at
Like,
the camera.
What's
Yeah.
happening here? Yeah, it's amazing.
I know it's
to
a
me,
camera. I don't know who that Australian man is, but he's
That's
handsome.
true.
Yeah,
You know,
'cause
he
he
was
could've-
sort of unknown.
Yeah, he could have got away with that, right?
Right.
Nobody knew who he was.
They wouldn't have known what they were filming.
They weren't
So-
all you watching the Paul Hogan show.
So I do love that, like once he's up on the lamppost, like checking everything out, the cop on horseback like comes over to him, and the next thing that we know, the cop on horseback's like bringing him back to the plaza.
On the horse.
Yeah, on
You're
the
like,
horse.
no way you let a dude ride your horse. Come
like,
on.
And
But-
is holding his knife.
Yeah, and I had it, and he's like, you know, like he had time to check this out. You're an okay guy, Mick. Here's
Sure.
your fucking massive
everyone loves
hunting knife.
Mick immediately.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
theme.
That's part of his charm for sure.
I did some research on
good
New York
for
knife
Australia.
laws. And so, one, you're not allowed to carry a knife with a blade that's more than 4 inches long.
That thing is what, 10?
Yeah, I don't think
At
the cop
least
would
8,
give it
9.
back to him. Also, interesting, it's illegal for non-U.S. citizens to carry knives in New York City.
I would like to see if that was the case in the 80s, and then
Oh, true. It could have been
like
different.
if he had checked his knife in Sue's bag.
No, I think you're right. I bet he got held up in customs because they were like,
Sir,
holy
this
shit.
knife is, you're carrying a katana sword.
Nah,
So, yeah,
they're
they-
not letting him bring that knife
Yeah.
into you.
So the cop says, take it easy, Mick. Thanks, mate. Hands him his knife back, his
Here's your
hunting
knife back,
sword.
sir.
So then Mick goes to greet the doorman, who seems like he's sort of like confused and like over it.
That dude's got a
Okay,
nice face. I bet he was a stand-up comic or something.
Yeah,
that
doesn't
guy.
he
his
look
name is
familiar?
Irving Metzger or something like
Okay.
that, and he was in 80s stuff, and
Yeah.
he has a very recognizable.
Yeah.
He was in
Yeah.
War Games and something else.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
can't remember
yeah,
what,
he's
but a
got
very
very
recognizable face. So, cut to later that night at the restaurant, the aforementioned restaurant. Richard's there early, getting a head start and ogling another woman, Snake.
asshole move. Yeah.
As Sue and Mick are entering.
What were the drinks they were pouring out? They were like milky white. Were they White Russians?
That's a huge White Russian.
They were pouring out like in tall
with a cherry on
with
top.
like a I don't know what they are.
Like a cherry
Probably
garnish.
not a White Russian if it was in a tall glass.
It was
It's probably
like a
gonna-
stemware.
Pina colada, maybe?
Could have been, yeah. It didn't look icy, but
Yeah.
it just looked creamy. But whatever.
It's a good question.
Anyway.
Makes me want another Foster's.
For another podcast.
So we should do a drink podcast. So Richard's trying real hard, laying it on thick. I'm eager to spend time with. He got here early to spend time with his girl.
Yeah, he got
Okay.
early to get a little shit
Right,
faced.
He's like,
He was
so what
definitely
are, it's
pre-gaming
like, what are we
for sure.
drinking? 2 vodka martinis, and what's yours, Crocodile? He's like, yeah, I'll have 2 of those, and a beer, thanks.
I love that's badass.
Yeah, I mean, I like 2. Yeah, I'll have
two.
whatever you're
I'll have 2
having.
martinis and a beer.
Times
Does he,
two.
but does he know what a martini
No,
is?
not a
Okay.
clue.
But he drinks martinis straight the rest of the movie.
He is
Yeah.
shit faced on martinis the whole rest of the
But he's
movie.
never drunk though. That's incredible.
true.
I feel like
That's a
he has to
drinker.
have.
His tolerance is off the hook.
He has to have had a martini, at least the Bush version of a martini, which is probably just.
bourbon.
Or he's
No, I
like,
was
there's
gonna
a lot of
say-
Jim Beam
I was
in
gonna
this
say
bar there.
vodka and an olive. Or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
he's
that.
at vodka.
Yeah,
or he's
maybe.
at
There's no
gin.
vermouth in it for fucking sure. So Richard stands up and is wobbly, and Sue notices, and she's like, "You have been here a while," which I take
Right.
it as like this is the first inkling that there's like cracks in the foundation, like you were saying, and it's like
Yeah.
maybe Richard drinks too much or something like that, and Sue's not into it.
I am a fan though of like
Which
a
is-
pregame.
Yeah, same, but she's like double standard. She'll drink, but she doesn't want
She'll
Richard
do
to drink.
coke.
Well, she doesn't want to show up and have him
She's
be
doing coke
Yeah,
in
she's
the
doing
airport
coke.
bathroom, baby.
She's like the person that smoked weed but like looks down
She
on
wants to
people that
have
drink.
her. She wants to have her cake and snort it too. It's true. So Richard immediately starts attacking Dundee in his drunkenness. Is like, this will be quite a novelty for you, eating something without having to kill it first.
Yeah,
asshole.
Yeah,
he's totally
like what
fine.
would prompt, even when you're drunk and threatened? I can't imagine being confrontational to that level. Of course, I'm not an uber rich asshole.
He's probably coked up too.
He is definitely coked up.
Yeah.
Now that-
Everything's working. All the chemicals in his body are working against each other. So at the table, as Richard flirts with Sue, Mick's like he's like, you guys should be here, and like, yeah,
you should have
this should have been your date. This shouldn't be going on.
This is a stand-up move.
Yeah, it is
Also,
awesome.
it's not fun to watch a woman that you like be with someone else.
But then,
it's like
she...
Who, Mick or Richard?
I'm saying Richard. But I'm saying Mick doesn't want to watch her flirt with
Richard. But that's what I'm saying is that then she, who kissed Mick back in Australia a day ago, says, sorry, it's just that we haven't seen each other in 6 weeks.
Maybe she's that type of girl who's just like horny.
But I mean, what kind of thing is that to say to the guy that you were like, would you mind if I asked you to come to New York? Here's a kiss. I'm sorry, it's my boyfriend and I haven't. It's like that's like everything she does is like it sucks.
It's a little shitty.
It's very shitty. So Mick says that's all the more reason that I shouldn't be here. But she says we're not letting you spend your first night in New York alone. So Richard's like, yeah, definitely stay. But it's pretty obvious that he thinks Mick sucks, and then he continues to be a world-class douchebag. There's a moment where the waiter tries to put Mick's napkin in his lap or something, and like,
what is that shit? I've never.
I think it's
been in a
one.
place where that happens.
I have been.
We're
in
not
places.
Dining at the same restaurants. The owner of Newsday.
I will say that I have been in like one restaurant where it was the waiter's job to come around and put a napkin in a lap.
Sure.
And then as I was watching it yesterday, I was thinking, that's cringeworthy. Now, seeing him like grab the guy's hand and being like, what the fuck are you doing? But then
I feel like I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Exactly. For someone that's never been in a restaurant like this, for someone to be reaching in your crotch, totally get it.
Now,
understood.
I had to rewind twice because I was like, my first thought was, does he like think he's grabbing for his knife? But he doesn't have the knife. He doesn't seem to have the knife on him in that scene.
Right.
Not on his hip, anyway. But yeah, I thought he was just grabbing around his crotch area. He's like, "Whoa, buddy!"
I think it just startled him because nothing like that's ever happened to him before.
And you're encroaching on my personal space.
Right. So Richard takes the liberty of trying to order for everyone. He like says in some pretty shitty Italian to the guy, it's like, "I'm glad it's been a while since I've seen you, but the Italian's not great." It's not great. So, and then, he's like, I'll order for the table because I don't imagine they have anything like kangaroo steak or possum grits for you, Crocodile.
Fucking asshole.
So he thinks everything he says is amazing.
If there's ever been a dude who deserved a punch in the face, it's like Richard.
Well, it's kind of like the scene coming to America.
Yes.
When they're playing basketball.
Yep.
Not Eric LaSalle, though?
Yeah, Eric LaSalle's character.
Prickish character.
Yeah, big time. And it's all because they're
totally the vibe.
But I never in Coming to America, it makes no sense because why is he threatened by Eddie Murphy's character? Because he's with the sister.
Right.
In this movie, I get it because like you're intruding on our space with my girl.
Clearly, it seems like my girl's got a thing for you.
Right.
In this movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen the physical evidence of that she's shown that yet. But the fact, like, Richard's obviously, like, super insecure, and I don't know. I get it, though, but, like, having the first night back...
I would be mad. I guess you guys would be mad, too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, first night back, you're like, can I not have a minute? It's been a month and a half?
Yeah, I mean, he probably
did
it the wrong way, but I would actually be furious at my girl for, like, why are you just got back, why are you inviting this dude?
It would have probably been more like, my darling, on my part. My darling, I haven't seen you in so long, and I was really hoping...
I've missed your touch.
I was really hoping we could spend... I had envisioned our first night back together being alone.
I'd have been like, what the fuck?
Fuck all this.
Flip the table.
This is bullshit.
So, Richard thinks everything he's saying is the funniest thing that's ever been said. Sue steps in to defend Mick and is like... They have the private joke about the Gamamora lizard or whatever the fuck it's called.
The goanna, yeah.
Whatever.
Which really fucking triggers
Richard's
Richard.
Oh, so you two eating goanna together? What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, exactly. So Richard's like, okay, fine, Mick. Why don't you order for the table since you're so good at Italian? What?
What does Sue see in this guy, though, Richard?
I don't know. Because they come from the same, like, upper class white New York social structure.
We have to hope he's not always like this.
I think that there must have been something redeeming about him, but that he's become so obsessed with like running the paper well that he's become sort of an asshole. But anyway,
Don't you think that he's just totally? I see it as he's just totally in love with Sue, and he's jealous, so he's acting out a little bit.
I think he's also an asshole.
I think with like a healthy dose of like sexual frustration, like
Yeah. Definitely, no, definitely.
Like,
and
yeah,
he's
whole-
coked up. He is coked up and drunk at the same time, and he hasn't seen his woman in 2 months, and he's like, "Fucking."
Do you think
hell.
he was faithful to her while she was gone?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's what I'm saying. So
I think he was.
you think so?
Yeah.
He was like waiting for that, and then
Well,
she comes
no,
back
so-
with a dashing Australian.
Do you think I miss
I'll
you,
say
darling?
that, but
I miss you, darling.
like when right before Mick and Sue walked into and he was sitting at the bar by himself drinking, and like a woman walks by and he's like checking out her ass.
Yeah,
So maybe not.
I don't know. He's definitely like got eye. You know, he's only human.
Yeah.
I will say he may not have acted on it, but he's thought about it
Oh, surely.
because he's definitely been out with like his Wall Street buddies while she's been gone.
Patrick Bateman and the rest of the American Psycho
At the
crowd.
exact same time. Yes, he was. Yeah, he was
They were at
feeding.
Dorsia and-
He was feeding cats to ATMs while she was gone. So Sue tries to intervene. Mick's like, "No, I'll have a lash at it," which is a great slang term. I'll have a lash at it. The menu he sees is entirely in Italian. He creates a distraction by saying, I think we should have what that fat Sheila is eating.
Yeah. I actually had to put it on closed captions.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a little problematic, but I think he's also just trying to create a distraction.
Right, and so everyone
Turn your
turns,
heads.
but then when they turn, he like punches the shit out of Richard, and it's not subtle like no one else saw. The entire restaurant went, like everyone saw
you
it.
think?
I don't
at
think
the
they
punch?
saw it. I think
no
they
one
just
saw it.
I don't think nobody saw it. I think they just saw him slump down. Because honestly, I don't think they show it. I think he just does it like in some kind of
like
ninja
lightning
style.
quick.
Yeah.
The way that they did the sound effect and stuff that everyone was like looking over, it made me think that like everyone.
Yeah, there
saw
was
it.
a weird sound thing happening there. I
they
got
didn't.
to take another look at it.
I
I mean, we are talking.
Take a look at the tape.
Mick is the one punch guy, right?
That's true.
True.
This is true. Oh man. So yeah, Richard slumps unconscious in his chair. Dundee's like, this guy can't handle his drink. What's gonna happen next? It's anyone's guess. We're caught in a love triangle. Sue's leading everyone on, that two-timing Sue.
Oh man, she's in between a rock and a hard place.
Rocking a Crocodile Dundee.
Croc and a hard place.
That's excellent. Well done. I guess we'll discuss it next time in the exciting 4th installment of our series on Crocodile Dundee. In the meantime,
Yeah, Mike, sign us off.
This is actually my last episode, so I'm going to dip out on you guys.
love you, Mike.
Because these babies ain't going to close themselves. But I want to thank both of you guys for inviting me on. I've had the best time. I've really enjoyed this.
you are invited back anytime.
We love you,
appreciate
Mike.
it.
Yeah, we'll have you on for sure, and we'll do it earlier in the day.
Sure.
We'll all take the day off. It'll be awesome.
All right, hey, come back for the rest of the episodes, everybody. We'll be back.